Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking encyclopedia, action potential, and integrated human heart ventricles. My Dharma, the impeccable wisdom, the wisdom of the divine nature, my greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature. Divyank is the reward of 60 years of integrated knowledge. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening. Akhand Vidya wisdom is empowering. To understand the heart completely, let me make few statements before I proceed with this particular video. I have been saying over and over, there is a nervous system which controls and masters all the regulatory functions of the body, unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. To take care of each and everything is finally the heart which has the control, the function of this, and it is a nervous system which regulates and controls the entire functions of the body. But the definition of nervous system given by different books from school, college to the university is very sectarian. They all talk of nervous system, then sensory nervous system, peripheral nervous system, involuntary nervous system, autonomic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system, and parasympathetic nervous system. Beyond that, they do not go. But I do know there are three levels of nervous system which go beyond in three organs. Heart has got pacemakers. Now I'm making it very clear there are four pacemakers in the heart. You have SN node as one pacemaker. AV node is the second pacemaker. We did talk about this in the last ventricle. I've also spoken about atrium as an independent unit and ventricles as an independent unit, also as pacemakers. And that is something which I've also explained. If you block nerve supply to heart before SN node, the heart rate goes up. When you do as SN node, it comes down. When you bring down and down, heart rate keeps coming down. And the ratio followed is again Divyank ratio only. I'm sure you understand this particular concept very clearly. Now, as for the perfect human anatomy is concerned, there are four chambers: right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, and left ventricle. There are also four main valves which play an important role. Right atrium to right ventricle, you have tricuspid valve, and left atrium to left ventricle, you have mitral valve or bicuspid valve, and you also have a pulmonary semilunar valve. From right atrium to right ventricle to lungs. Right ventricle to lungs is a pulmonary semilunar valve which carries the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. And then oxygenated blood from the left ventricle is pumped to aorta and the rest of the body through aortic laminar valve, and that is the picture which I want everybody to understand and concept. Since all the blood is carried for the survival of the 100 trillion cells of the body, and they use carbohydrate like glucose, amino acids and fatty acids to be used as a ATP for the functioning of the body and other requirements. And in the process with the oxygen, which is Agni, the fire, can produce whole thing into carbon dioxide, and this has to be expelled out when its percentage more than 61.8034%. That is the knowledge which I am giving step by step in a very sequence, so that Divyank is the method which is there. Now if you look at the heart size here, the length and breadth is in Divyank ratio. Shape is like fist, like a heart again in the 3 and 4 ratio. Having understood that most vital part, heart, size, shape, everything is Divyank. And also atrial system is 38.1 and venous system is 61 point, is again this. Water is the most important part of blood. and its percentage should also be 61.804%. If these things are maintained 24/7, I can assure you, you can have a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise, happy life for years to come, and you will be still as young as 21, physically, emotionally, mentally, intelligently, otherwise, and lead a perfectly blissful life as a living God and work like a living God for the benefit of the entire humanity. To reach that level, you got to be perfectly physically healthy, emotionally stable, mentally powerful, and other things. I think slowly and steadily things are becoming very clear. The first video is the perfect human being. To be a perfect human being, heart plays very important role, and its four pacemakers to make sure that we pump all the requirements of the 100 trillion cells to the cells from the heart beautifully, efficiently, and maintain a blood pressure of 120/74 and systolic and diastolic volume 120, stroke volume 74, ejection fraction 61 point. If these parameters are maintained, you can be perfectly healthy for generations to come. And I'm just trying to see how I can be a perfect, physically healthy, wealthy, wise, and happy, and do wonders which have never been done in the history of mankind, and bring the kind of knowledge for every perfect human being, from child to school to the university to thereafter, and so that they don't have to unlearn and learn. All the knowledge which we have about perfect anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology in the entire world is very sectarian, is confusing. So as a result, people are not able to lead a perfectly blissful, disease-free life at all. And my desire is every living being should be as perfect as a God living itself. From that angle, this particular presentation makes all the more sense. 10 stages of conducting system of heart I have already explained. SA node, 3 branches of atrium, then AV node, bundle of his, left bundle branch, right bundle branch, frequency fibers, and this has been explained. And this is again 10 stages, like 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu, to show there are 10 stages of development at every stage. Again, something which I've experienced within me and seen its presentation and present it everywhere. There are 10 stages. And terminology as resting membrane potential, electric potential at rest. Threshold is when stimulus goes to depolarization, then polarization, depolarization, supersaturation, repolarization, hyperpolarization has to be understood, and also the resting membrane potential of different cells. You have both excitable and non-excitable. Skeletal muscle is nearing 90, neurons around 70, smooth muscles are 60, photoreceptors are -5, and these are excitable. Where other cells also have, but it is much lower, but there is no excitability. So excitable and non-excitable. As you can see in this particular thing, action potential is an excitable, whereas local failed initiation leading to local graded thing is a non-excitable cells. If that is understood, I think we know the picture, we can proceed to the next. Nernst equation is the equilibrium potential or resting membrane potential has to be remembered here. Log used is 61, but I do know it is not 61, it should be minus 61.8034 to get a perfect equilibrium potential for all the cells. And that is what I'm now trying to show with this particular thing. The right value would be 61.8034 by and large in neuron. Action potential, the Divyank action potential is also, I've explained again, if it's a graded potential, slow sodium influx into the cells from extracellular to intracellular takes place, is very gradual. But very moment it touches -55 from -70, you reach deep threshold value, and then there is a fast increase flow of sodium channel into this, and there is sharp increase which can go up to plus 35 millivolts, and this ratio is again following Divyank ratio. Then no more sodium can enter, so potassium starts coming down. Then after a certain stage, then there is sodium and potassium both together come to play a role, where sodium starts coming out and potassium goes inside. And this is also something which I have shown has not been shown by others, but this is how it should work. But as a result, more sodium going out and less potassium going in. It goes to stage of hyperpolarization. The value becomes lower than minus 70, or you can say minus 70, 75 as 80. Then it is brought down to the resting membrane potential through influx of sodium ions by and large. And this is also something which has not been explained. Maybe people never felt there is a need to contemplate on subtle aspects and create a flow chart which is beyond any comprehension, without any difficulty, and bring in impeccable wisdom. My desire is only to reproduce something which could be perfect and complete, both horizontal as well as vertical integration. From that, this particular slide makes a lot of sense that here again is the Divyank. Action process sinusoidal and two of the nodes I have shown in this particular thing, they are identical. And here again, it follows the same Divyank ratio. Resting membrane potential is minus 61.8034%, and threshold value is 38.196. And you have both sodium, potassium, and calcium, three ions playing important role in action potential of SA node or atrial ventricular node. That is also follows the Divyank ratio, and from that angle, this is also proved that SA node and AV node, two pacemakers, it is Divyank again. Now coming to the ventricular action potential, as I've told you, and I have related it with ECG. Cardiac cycle is 0.8 seconds. Let's take the 75 when 60 is 8 seconds. Ventricle systole will be 0.33 seconds. Ventricle diastole could be 0.5 seconds. And electrocardiograph is also shown for 0.8 seconds. But you can see the ventricular systole is 0.3 of the 0.8. During that corresponding period, you can see QRS and T interval coming to play a role. But in this particular picture, you can see the zero phase is depolarization, where sodium enters. And then you have calcium, potassium coming down, then calcium maintains, then potassium coming out, and then coming into zero. Let me explain that later. But idea is ventricular systole, which is with ventricular action potential, associated with QRS T interval only. Remaining 0.5, you have remaining part of the ECG. I'm sure this is also something which I have already shown in cardiac cycle, how they correspond. Atrial systole is 0.1 and atrial diastole is 0.7. Ventricular systole is 0.3 seconds and ventricular diastole is 0.5 seconds. I'm sure you remember that very clearly. And same thing is applied. This is again quote in quote, it is Divyank ratio only. So I have shown in heart A to Z, it is Divyank, Divyank and Divyank alone. Whether it's size, shape, structure, function, in everything. Now coming to very precise points, the ventricular action potential I have shown in the picture which I have shown in the first headline. You can see the green channels. And that is the stage where you can say sodium from extracellular fluid is entering into intracellular cardiac cycle. You can see the picture down. Green represents sodium is going inside the myocytes or cardiac cells from extracellular to intracellular. The yellow portion is exclusion or outcoming of potassium from myocytes to the extracellular fluid is a small gradual thing which comes. Then you have a calcium ions from extracellular fluid going into the cells to maintain the plateau. So, unlike in skeletal muscle where the sodium, potassium only which is playing a role, here calcium is also brought to maintain the plateau throughout. So that cannot be done by sodium or potassium, it has to be potassium. Calcium is very close to where you can maintain the concentration throughout 0.3 seconds. After that stage, then potassium starts coming out. From inside cells, it starts coming out. And then further red, you can see again potassium is coming out and maintained. If this particular ratio is maintained, you will have no problem in understanding how ventricular systole or ventricular action potential out of 0.8 seconds, 0.3 is maintained to maintain both the quick influx of depolarization, then slight decline of potassium coming out, then calcium from outside going into the cell maintains the plateau for almost 0.3 seconds, and then potassium coming out from inside, then again coming out to make sure that you come back to diastolic stage. So ventricular systole is 0.3 seconds of the total 8. If that is maintained, you will be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. So I'm sure you can see the same Divyank ratio here. Systole is 0.3 and diastole is 5, and that is again Divyank ratio only. Is it surprising? But there is something more in this particular thing which I would like everybody to understand. In this picture you can see you have resting membrane potential almost nearing 90. And then it comes to 0, but it goes right up to 50 plus, which unfortunately not every representation of this nature shows in the picture. And I want everybody to understand there are certain rules, certain mathematical design which are consistent. Only understanding those concepts we can understand impeccable wisdom. As a professor of physiology, person expert in anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and psychology, having mastered A to Z the entire universe within my body, I feel it's my earnest duty to represent wisdom in impeccable for perfection, to lead a perfect life, not for disease. That I will leave it to the medical profession to do what they do. It is their business, not my business. My business is only to make everybody perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy, never fall sick, never have a disease, and as a result use the life to make wonders for the entire world and make the place perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And I am sure every child is born as a Brahmin, intelligent, super intelligent, and in the younger age we are so intelligent because we are not fed with unwanted information. As long as brain is not fed with unwanted, unlearning and relearning is not required. If we can give the perfect wisdom, I can imagine the next generation who starts taking this from childhood, they'll be super intelligent, literally living God coming on earth again. If I look at that, I find almost all the religions talk of the return of divinity on the earth. And without naming any religion, I think this concept is found in every religion, and let's stick to that. And next generation could become like that. After building on this particular Divyank ratio, Divyank sequence, and Divyank infinity, in the light of entire mathematics, physics, chemistry, human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and all the things which human beings need to understand from atomic to elemental to molecular to compound to this, apply in our life, we would be like reincarnation of divinity within human beings for the benefit of the entire world. I think time has come for that. We should move on to that high level of intelligence, intuition, and be a reflection of universal consciousness, light on the earth, as every god has come down and is like Vedas and Upanishads, walking and talking and having a Gurukul system on the earth and enjoying the beauty of universal consciousness. That is the objective of this particular video or all the videos which I've taught. Now in this picture, I have also shown integrated action potential. As you can see, the upper one is what action potential of SA node and AV node, which is red color, and green is of ventricular systole. If you see that corresponding ratio, how it corresponds is very clearly mentioned in this particular thing. But you can see ventricular systole is 0.3 of 0.8, whereas distole is also 0.8. But how it is maintained, which way is maintained, I think this speaks volumes. And I'm only giving ideas to build on, because I do believe every person who's reading, listening, or watching these videos is super intelligent to take this to much higher level on their own in this particular. And as I told you in the last video, in this particular picture you can see plus 20 at top. And that is almost corresponding with the end of ventricular systole. That is not true. It should be point plus 50, not this. From 90 to how it goes, how things work, is also something which I want everybody to be very precise. If it has to be impeccable wisdom of the highest order, it has to be with conclusive mathematical design, but not man-made mathematics. Not the geometry, algebra, and all sorts of combination of other things, which is man-made, has confused the whole world. Divyank is only divine design, although I have perceived it, but it's a divine design based on what is found in Vedas, Upanishads, and other things, which nobody can deny. The kind of evidences which are given in the first 108 videos is a class by themselves. And it is the benefit of humanity that I am going to do this work and let the whole world enjoy. This is ultimate beauty. We need a religion which is uniform, which does not need to be changed. We need an education system which is perfect from school, college to the university. And everybody knows complete perfection, impeccable wisdom, and nothing other than that. Unlearning and relearning is not required, and that is objective of my videos. Hope people get the message is clear. Do not want any misconception otherwise. Hello. Good night, Ma.